We're live.
Yep. How's it going today?
Getting to be summertime.
Yeah, it is kind of nice out there.
Yeah, a little
80s,
spring.
little 90s kicking in.
Yeah, everything's finally shaping up that time of year when it gets so damn hot we can't do nothing.
But we'll get around it.
Yeah, we got a couple of weeks of nice weather.
Mm-hmm.
Get a bunch done, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try something tonight. Everybody's listening here. Somebody was talking to me and they said they're gonna ask me a question and they said, well, you know, I didn't want to ask this question because I thought it was a dumb question.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to appear dumb. But then I watched one of your podcasts and you were answering somebody's question that I thought was dumb. And I realized there ain't no dumb questions. The only dumb ones are the ones that are unanswered, right, Scott?
Only dumb ones are the ones that aren't asked.
Or never asked. There you go. That's the way it is, yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
If you don't ask,
Well, no, I mean,
there's no stupid
if they're
questions.
not asked, they're dumb.
There's no stupid questions.
Right. So here's what we're going to offer for anybody who's willing. If you got a dumb question, if you got one you thought someone would laugh at you, starting next week, or starting today, you can write them in the comments below this video,
Mm-hmm.
and we will have a never asked, or we'll have a dumbest question section every week. We'll take all those questions that you always wondered about and too embarrassed to ask,
Mm-hmm.
and about dogs, right? About dogs.
Yeah, dogs.
And we'll answer them for you, right, Mr. Sinclair?
Yes, sir.
How's everything going with your boys?
Pretty good. Just hang out. You just hang out here and there.
What are you doing, Aries? What's old Aries weigh now?
Close to 100.
This is Scott's future pride and joy.
He's under the table. When he comes around, I'll get him.
Call him out there, see what he'll do. We'll show off our dogs
Here
for a
he
minute.
comes.
We're kind of waiting for everybody to get.
Call him back a little bit.
Aries.
Hey, Aries.
Come here. Come here. Up, there you go. There you go.
There you go.
You my honey? Yes. Get down now. Come on, get down.
So that's Mr. Sinclair's original love is Dobies. So he's probably got him on there. We think we'll go some places with.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it works out.
Yep. And then, well, we got one of those. I happened to notice some of the other questions people were asking around, and one thing that seems to be a consistent problem or a popular question is controlling a dog when he's off leash. You know, or how do I get my dog to come when he's out yonder? So I thought we might address that tonight. What do you think?
That's fine.
You got any trouble with your beasts?
No. Not really. This one I do. He's about a year old, so he's still learning. But,
Right.
You know, with the training techniques and working on it, so I trust him.
Yeah.
That's the question that you're asking.
So if you're one of the tens of thousands whose dogs don't regularly come when you call, we're going to try to address things. First, remember, all, what do they call that? All thoughts expressed are those of management and they're not meant to start World War III,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So we want that disclaimer out since we're on social media. So think about this. If you first of all, I did a little short video about the most important word in dog training, I felt, and that word was why. If you always get the answer to why, you can always solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs are literal animals. They live black and white, here and now. Okay? They are interested in what they're interested in now. They're not planning for lunchtime or happy hour. Yep. So.
Time has no meaning to them.
Right.
It's just.
What I'm doing now?
Yep.
So.
You're actually correct.
Yeah. So if we think of it that way, if they're interested in why won't they come when they're off leash? You know, We got gadgets that you can use they're not trained dog. It's not training, it's restraining. You know, you've got your long line, you got your electric collar, you know, you got all kind of gimmicks that can force a dog into a behavior. But how do you train the dog? And think about this. We spend, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year maybe on dog training, probably, throughout the country.
Easily, yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. And 7, 8, 9,000 years ago, there was some shepherd over in Jerusalem with his sheep on the side of a mountain. And every time he whistled, his dogs came right to him. And if he pointed there, they went there. And if they pointed there, they went there. If he told them to stop, they froze. A couple of thousand years before that, Romans had whole companies of dogs that went out. And believe me, them kennel masters weren't running with them on leash to go take out those cavalry of that opposing army. You know, they sent them into battle and they called them back from battle. Nasty part of our history, old Columbus, you know, who we called a hero for a lot of years. You know, he brought those Spanish Mastiffs over here, and you know, he turned them loose. They didn't have leashes or anything. Turned them loose on the Indians, and they do their duty and come back to them. So obviously, today we're not getting something that all them primitives figured out. So I asked myself a long time ago, why? If I break it down, why your dog doesn't come to you, I've really come to only 2 reasons why they don't come. And I know people are going to say, because you need more training, you got to have a treat, you got to do this, No, I'm talking about why won't the dog come to you? They're a pack animal. They're looking for a leader. Their survival as a species depended on them working together in a pack to take down larger animals. And to do that, they had to follow instructions. They couldn't fight amongst themselves. They'd have killed each other off. They'd have been bleeding. They'd have been blood poisoning. Dogs would now be rhinoceroses or some other creature because they wouldn't be around today. So what's the deal? How about this? There's 2 reasons why dogs don't come when you call them, or do anything when you tell them off at a distance from you. A, they're just more interested in something else. And, you know, right now, here and now is the smell of this skunk that walked by here a minute ago.
Hyper-focused.
Yeah, that's their focus. The other reason is, and this probably be the most common, is they don't know what the heck come or here means.
You speak English.
Yeah.
Doglish.
Douglas,
Can I give you a question real quick?
is it on this subject?
Yes, sir.
Let's go with it.
It says, can the dog tell if you are anxious about him being off leash? Can your dog tell if you're anxious that he's off leash and you're like, ooh, hope he does what he's supposed to?
Dogs, and this is one reason that they don't come. Dogs are, all right, like Scott just said, they're speaking Doglish, we're speaking English. And Doglish is a visual language. So if you so much as do this, and your dog's 20 feet away, and he sees your hand shake as you reach for something, he might be nervous. But as far as in his world, no, because if I'm thinking, that's a question I've never had, thank you. So let me try and figure out the whys of that. If he's out running around, he's sniffing things he's interested in. And he's free to do whatever he wishes. If you get nervous, he's not interested in that, and he's not looking at you right now. And he doesn't know why you're nervous. His environment is, wow, just like he likes it. If he got nervous, he would probably come back to you automatically because you're his security. That's actually one of the things that I do in our puppy training, is start them young in strange places and disappear on them. So I can write on their security, their survival instincts, that keeping me in sight saves them from the boogeyman. Okay? So I I think if you were nervous, they'd hear it in your voice or see it in your body. I don't think they're going to get nervous off leash, and if they do, you'll know about it because they're going to come back to you. I hope that answers the question.
Off leash, on leash, they can tell.
Yeah.
Off leash, like you're saying, on leash, the dog can feel you.
How they do that?
I don't know, to tell you the truth, but just handling these dogs, when you're handling these dogs, protection work, or if you're somewhere, a dog can actually, you build a bond with the dog. The dog gets to know you.
Correct.
And it ain't your feelings, it's your movement, it's your smell. It's, it's a leash, right? Yep.
I'm like Scott, I can't say why, but I know I have seen, here's an example. This is like an umbilical cord between you and your dog. All of your feelings and emotions, the best dog men I know say, go right down that leash and into a dog's nervous system. Way back a long, long time ago when I used to do a lot of classes before I got in the guard dog business, I at one time had a lady who was like 5 foot, and she had an old English sheepdog who, I know they look cute, but boys, they can be their dogs. And she could not get this dog to sit when she stopped for nothing. So that was back in my yank and crank days, before I learned a little bit more. So I told her at one point, I said, you walk past me when you stop, see if he'll sit. Don't correct him or anything if he doesn't, just see if he'll sit. I just had a hunch. I was going to let her walk past me, tell her to stop, and then if he didn't sit, I was going to reach over there and I was going to make that correction. Because she was too little. She was just a little bitty girl, right? Neanderthal thinking. So sure enough, she walks right past me, she stops, and she looks at him, and she says, sit. And he just looked up at her. And I reached up as slow as I could so he wouldn't know it was me, and I grabbed that leash. And that dog sat before I corrected anything. He felt me. And she's standing between he and I. And that's when I started really listening to people who said they can. Mm-hmm. So when your dog's off leash, you lose that connection.
Yes.
So you folks tell me if this sounds familiar to you. You're out walking with your dog. He's checking something out. You're 10, 15 feet away. He's got his nose buried in some scent. You holler, Fido, here. He keeps sniffing. You go, Fido, here. And he kind of glances up at you, and now you're getting a little irritated. So, you take a step forward, and when you move, he sees you moving, and he sees you walking towards him, and he goes back to sniffing, right? It's a pretty good sniff he's got going there. Now you're really getting a little, and so you go, I said, Fido, here. And you scream at the top of your lungs, and he looks up, and you're walking towards him because you're going to get him, and he goes, oh, here you come, time to play the game. And he takes off a running, and you take off a cussing and running. That's happened to almost everybody, I would guess, in here. So let's break it down and figure out why the dog did that. Like I said, there's 2 reasons dogs don't come. 1, they don't really know the command. 2, there's something more interesting. And that's in the moment. If you don't break that interest, and remember, dogs don't do anything without a reason. So you have to give him a reason that something very interesting is now not as interesting. Simple as that. That's step 1. Let me break down what happens when you give your commands the way we all do. You've said his name. He glanced at you as you were coming forward to get him. In his mind, it's, oh, Daddy's coming over here to join me in this sniff, right? We're going to sniff this together. You keep walking. He keeps sniffing. You holler. You stop. You holler at him again. This time you're mad and you go here instead of here. I'll explain that tones in a minute as well. Now, he kind of glances up and you started going towards him again and he goes, yeah, here he's still coming. Well, that's great. We're going to check out this sniff together. And about that time you start running, he goes, oh, I know this game. Pew, pew, pew. I've never mentioned this scenario to a customer dropping off a dog that someone didn't smile or laugh. That's for 20 years I've never said it in front of a dog owner without getting a grin of guilt. So I know it's a common trait. So the next one is the dog doesn't understand the command in the first place. So we're going to put the two possible causes together for you so you can get your dog coming 100% of the time, every time. Like Scott said, we're speaking English.
I'm speaking Doglish.
This is a sound language, a vocal audio language. It is visual.
Yeah. Movements.
Movements.
Yeah.
They have ears they can prick up, tail they can wag, hair they can raise on the back of their backs. We can say things with vowels and consonants like A, E, I, O, U, T, X, Y, Z. They can't make all them sounds, but they can make all these movements. We can't wiggle our ears or our tail thing. Scott's trying. So we communicate best vocally. So what happens is your dog's over there sniffing the grass. He's very interested in what he's doing. He hears your voice and he checks back with you, as he should, to see what's going on, and you're walking towards him. Well, in Doglish, body language always trumps vocal language, audio. So you're now walking towards him. Well, it must not be real important whatever you said because you're joining him. Now you repeat it again, and this time you're mad and you go, I said now. Well, there's a third form of communication that we share with dogs, and that's tones. And we both can do about the same tones, can't we?
Yeah. Different barks have different meanings.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's another story.
And you can scream or you can growl, you can get. Well, guess what? Since dogs are literal and language learning, when you change, this is my theory only again, please crucify me, folks, on the internet. When you change the tone, which is part of language, to a dog, you change the command. When you go from, "Hey, buddy boy," to, "God, come here, damn it."
Is that why Whistle has 5 or 6 settings on it?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
different
it.
tones.
Yeah.
Your voice is the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's why you're trying to train certain things, you just use the same tone of voice.
Right. And along with that is body language. Remember, body language trumps vocal language every time. If you don't believe me, University of Naples, you can look up that school. I'll get you the dates and the source. I'm sorry if I didn't bring that with me. I just thought about this. They ran experiments, I think in the 80s or 90s. They took trained rescue water dogs, mostly Newfoundlands. And these dogs are trained on hand signals as well as voice commands. Because when the owners and handlers are out in the boats, maybe going to trying to find somebody to rescue somebody, the dog's swimming in the water, they're going a distance from the boat. They got the water sloshing, their ears are flat against their head. They found that many times the visual hand signals were more obvious to the dogs than the sounds, okay? So University of Naples took a group of these dogs, I think it was in the neighborhood of 30 or 40 dogs. They ran 2 different experiments. The first one I can't remember, but it had the exact same results. The second, final experiment was real simple. The owners, remember these are experienced teams. The average age of these dogs was, I think, 4 years old. These are very experienced dogs, don't need a leash for nothing, do anything and everything the owner says every time they ask them to do it. They had the owner do 2 opposing commands, one by voice, one by hand signal. Example, come. So they told him to come, and then they told him to stay, right? And then they said, heel, and they hand signaled down. So what do you think the percentage of the number of dogs followed the most?
The hand signals.
Hand signals.
I think. I think it's hand signals.
What, on a scale of 1 to 10, how many followed the voice command first?
0.
No, there's a couple that did.
2.
Close. 3. 3. 7 followed the hand signal.
Damn.
They did 2 other experiments that I cannot remember, and they all had the same exact results. In fact, the 3 dogs that followed the voice commands were the same 3 that did every time. The others all handle hand signals, which indicated to the researchers at the time that these 3 that handled the voice commands over the hand signals probably had not been trained on hand signals as well. So, body language is key. Tones are key. How important is body language? When I first came out here to close out the guard dog business and go into the board and trained civilian business, I would start off doing a lot of lessons, but all private, one-on-one. And I had people come up. The first thing I teach them is a disciplined recall, where your dog comes to you, sits in front of you, and remains seated until you apply your leash, put down the food, whatever. And they would go home, practice for a week, come back the next week, and I'd ask them, how'd your dog do on your front command? Show me your progress, right? And they'd say, he just did fantastic. He just watch this. And I'd say, okay, let's watch it. And I'd take the leash off the dog, and we've got a little 100 by 100 foot training yard over there. Dog would wander off to the end of the road, and I'd say, okay, call your dog. And they'd go, Fido, front. And Fido would look up at him and come running and sit right there. And they'd go, see, I told you, he's just the best. And I'd say, okay, let's do it again. Because 8 out of 10 people, when they'd call their dog, they'd say their name, and as they gave the command, they'd bend forward. Fido, front. I don't know why, most people do it that way. Trying to get down to the dog's level or something, I don't know. So the second recall, the dog would wander out there, and they'd go, Fido! And as they said front, I would stick my hand right in front of their chest so they couldn't bend over. And they'd say, front! And guess what? The dog would look at them, go back sniffing. Happened every time. Because the dogs were reading their posture that they were taking before the word.
Association. Mm-hmm. But that tells you they're learning something.
What's that?
They're learning that command. Mm-hmm. But the body language is part of their we call it.
The recall.
The recall.
Probably.
Well, I'm saying that subliminally they don't think of the conditioning in their minds. Well, it's natural now, right?
Right.
Now this is part of it.
Yeah, and probably.
It's all part of it together.
Yes, it's yeah.
But it shows
it's all one word, one sentence.
Word and all with the body language, but you take that element of the body language out, some dogs just don't react.
Ain't gonna do it. And they probably got in the habit of bending over because when they come to front, we have our dogs sit, and then we'd hand them a treat. And they probably bent over with, oh, you're so cute. So now they're in the habit of bending at the waist.
I got 2 comments from Moreno King Corso.
Uh-huh.
It says the leash to me is a communication cable between me and the dog, and his dog. Okay. He then writes, I started treat training about 5 years ago, and I'm really going to cut that way down. I started to realize that I lost that connection between the dog and when I use a leash to train.
I got that.
He's agreeing with us.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we train our teaching part without a leash as well. I agree with you. I think it makes a better communication thing. If we have trouble getting a dog to sit in a heel when we call them to heel, we may put a leash on them to help them understand it. But yeah, I don't think it's hurting your communication, but I think what happens is the leash, because dogs are literal, the leash becomes part of the command, and we as humans use that leash as a crutch. Get over here closer. And I think what happens if you're using that leash too much when you take that crutch away, because remember, we've been brought up to think you teach heel, for instance. Heel is taught on leash. You go to your pet store, you go to your private lesson, whatever. They teach everything on leash. And then they tell you when you got him doing really good on leash, then bring him back. We'll teach him to heel off leash. And it's just an extra $295. Well, my question to all of you who've heard this statement before is real simple. I know if I say, parlez-vous français to Scott,
Oui, parle français.
if I hold his shoulder and say, parlez-vous français,
Oui.
he knows I'm asking him if he speaks French.
Pourquoi tu m'as touché sur l'épaule?
Yeah, wait a minute, you're getting better than me here.
That's why you touched my shoulder for.
But if I stand back here and say, parlez-vous français,
See?
what does that what does that mean?
You speak French.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah.
So if you put your leash on your dog and go heel and he walks with you, and if you take the leash off, how come heel don't mean the same thing? You ever think about that?
Yeah.
Heel is heel. Duh. That's it. That's all it is. Here is here. Simple as that. The only thing that interferes with the dog following any command off leash is his interest in something else or his misunderstanding of the command itself. Confusing him by changing your tones, by getting excited. These are why dogs don't come to you. Okay, so we got the problem. We got why it's caused. How do we fix it?
You're a pack leader, right?
Hmm?
You're the pack leader.
You're the pack leader, right.
So
But he's out there and he's really interested in something.
if I can get his attention. At
Okay,
that exact moment in time, he's focused on me.
exactly.
What if I do another body movement?
There you go.
Like turn away and walk the other way.
Wow.
Might that work?
I think it might work. In fact, I saw a real interesting study years and years ago with David Meck, Dr. David Meck. He's the man, the wolf biologist, greatest wolf expert in the world. And he's the one who was misquoted and misunderstood that caused the alpha theory to be introduced to dogs, which it, as he said, never should have been. But a timber wolf, if they're, all right, so when dogs are out foraging on, wolves are out, or dingoes in Australia, singing dogs of Borneo, all canines have this same, that hunting around the countryside is not just hunting, it's also like the social event for canines, right? Oh, I smell something over here. Come here and join me in this sniff. So that it's when they bond the most. They're all interested in something else besides the pack leader. You're not going to find a greater distraction for these wolves than what they're sniffing up while they're foraging. If there's ever a time they're not going to come when that pack leader calls them, that's when it is. So how does a dingo call the rest of the pack? How does a timber wolf or a Mexican gray, how do they call the rest of the pack when the pack is absorbed in odors? A timber wolf will make a puffing sound with his cheeks. It's not loud. But, you know, these critters have hearing that's 10 times better than ours, so they hear it. And what he does, he goes puff, puff. They glance his way, and they do just what Scott said. Or the leader does just what Scott said. Turns and starts walking.
What happens?
They all follow
The pack
the pack.
leader.
Follow the pack leader, yes.
Interesting.
So, one thing that we do wrong, Fido here, Fido come, Fido squat, whatever. Why don't you just record you hollering here and stick it on a statue and sit in the shade, and then when you're ready to call your dog, plug in the tape recorder.
So, that being said, the wolf, how many times does he do the puff puff? 17 times?
Well, it depends. The macho ones only do it twice.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
Some of the gay ones will do it 5 or 6 times.
Uh-huh.
I really don't know. I would think.
But honestly, after the first one, they get his attention. He does his. That's his command. Up, up. They look up, and he returns. Now, do you think that someone sitting there saying, come here, 20 times,
Gotcha.
the dog becomes immune to it?
Gotcha. No. White noise.
White noise, huh? So,
Good point,
So the use
Scott.
of voice commands should be limited then.
Yes.
Because after 3 or 4, I'll do it 3 times and don't come, well, we got a couple more before I got to go before he gets mad. I'm not saying they think that way, but honestly, you don't repeat commands.
They might. They might. Good point. Thank you. That's exactly what they do. So, and there's my golden rule: never repeat the command, repeat the consequence, boys. But so, if you get that dog's interest, if you make a sudden noise, that's where our silent whistles are so great because that's loud. But you can clap your hands. You can whistle.
So, bueno, can you say it?
Sometimes, because a lot of times when dogs are sniffing, looking at stuff, if you'll say their name, they'll glance out the corner of their eye back at you. They may not lift their head up, but they will glance. If you simply step back, make quick, sudden, backwards move, 7 times out of 10, that dog's going to start coming to you whether you give a command or not.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you can do is make sure they understand and know their name. This is my way of doing it. I'm not saying anyone else should or could. What I want to do is teach my dogs a response. Their name becomes the most important thing in the world to them. So we play something called the name game. I'll go into that here in just a minute. My dogs all know when they hear their name, they hear me say their name, they're going to look to see what's next.
Mm-hmm.
That is the first thing I start teaching puppies, and it's something I never quit working on with the dogs. And if Black Bart's chasing a cat 50 yards away, and I say this loud, Bart, his head spins around and he looks at me. Scott's seen this, right?
Yes.
Never fails.
Just saying, this method here, I've done it with my dog. We're 100, 200 yards away. Said the command, well, his name first, and just turned around. Mm-hmm. And the dog beat me to the front door.
Be right there.
He was beelining to those people and this other dog. Well, I probably told the story before, but I just
Repeat it.
Well, I was taking my dog for a walk, and there was another couple. He was coming in. Hi, buddy. There was another couple. Oh, he had another dog, and they were going to the park, which was about 300 yards away. Okay, I love you too. Stop that. So I brought my dog in. He was interested in another dog. So basically, I went to bring him in, took his leash off. I forgot to shut the door enough, and he was smart enough to where he bolted out and hauled butt towards the other dog. Going to play. He wasn't vicious or nothing. He wanted to go play. And they were already at the park over there next to the highway.
Ooh, that's
So
right.
I ran out and got to the sidewalk and yelled out his name. And I was thinking, what would you do, And I said his name. He looked at me, and I just turned around and started walking to the front door, which was about 20 yards. And he was 200 yards away. And he beat me to the front door. He came right away.
Yep.
So it works.
Yeah.
We testimonial and all, but
It works.
yeah. Been distracted there a little bit.
Yeah, a little distraction there. So just remember, anytime you think you can't train your dog or your dog's not being trained, just think about them little
Excuse me.
good stuff. We won't tell you what it is.
Not really.
Cough it up there. Cough it up.
I'm good.
Vitamin water.
Yeah.
Think about, as I like to say, think about Ugg the caveman. He could train them wolves, and they listened to him, and probably because the wolves were more smarter than Ugg, and they had a better communication system. But it's really about communication. Dogs do something if there's a reason to do it. They also do one other thing. They always follow the leader because their survival, they believe, depends upon it. So with those two things in your corner,
Yeah.
all you have to do is teach that dog to pay attention to you. Don't go repeating commands because, again, my thoughts only, I think they're great at counting. And it's sort of like, I'm sniffing this. He wants me to call. He called me. Hell, he called 3 times yesterday.
Yep.
And maybe he'll call 6 today. And he goes off sniffing. So, say it one time. If you don't get results, shut up. You're doing something wrong.
Just stop. Man, sorry. Weed pipe. So, yeah.
He hadn't been drinking that long. He was,
Yeah, I don't. Not too long. Well, you're thinking about a name
You ought to have
game.
milk like I got. It'll be better.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Golly. We talked about a name game thing a while ago. See, we're going to talk about that?
Yeah. The name game is the most important thing you can do. It's simply starting with them as a puppy, moving some sort of reward or treat in front of their nose, holding an inch from their nose. When they follow your hand side to side, then maybe twice, once this way, and then jerk your treat to the tip of your nose, just as quick as you can. Because remember, dogs, land predators, eyes are all designed to pick up motion much better than you and I. They can see an acorn fall out of a tree 50 yards away. So move it this way. When he's looking away, you say his name, and at the exact same time, pop your hand to the tip of your nose. Lower your hand to your chin so you can look him eye to eye. And when he's looking you right in the eye, hand him a treat. Repeat. Name. Bring it down. Look him in the eye. Good boy. Add some praise. Add some attaboys. 3 times in a row. Every day of his life for the first 60 days you got him. If you've never done it before, try doing it now. And then you can write in the comments section what a great job you did.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen, what we're doing here is, because they're attracted to quick, sudden motions, you want them looking away from you. These are the fine points of the name game. You want them to be looking another direction so you can get them in the habit of turning and looking up. Turning and looking up. Because when you're calling them from a distance, they're not going to be looking you in the face. They're going to be looking away from you. But if you get them to turn that head back to you and you then move, your dog will come running to you. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be some times when he sits there and goes, "Oh, I really want to check this out." I've had people come out here and we do show. I call that a casual recall. Whoa! I call that a casual recall. What are you doing, Aries? Oh, it's swapped. Okay. And people start walking and they keep looking over their shoulder, I'm going, you're the leader. Act like you're the leader. You're supposed to know where you're going. You can't go somewhere when you're looking behind you. Say your dog's name one time, start walking. So far, I think we can honestly say, Carol Ann's over there. She's out here training with us every day. Has it ever failed yet, Carol Ann?
Never failed.
And these are people who list, when you drop your dog off here for training, we do a profile. What are your problems with your dogs? One of the things we want to know, because that's how we formulate our training program around your dog. And I would say, pulling on a leash, in this order, pulling on a leash, jumping up, and not coming when I call are your 3 biggest problems. So in all the years we've been doing this, as she said, we've never had a dog fail to come using this method. Mm-hmm. So if you want to know a little bit more about how I think dogs think, whoa, Aries ready to go. Hold on, buddy. I like to plug a little bit every now and then. We're going to try and come out with an audio book on this, but that's probably 6 months away. So this book, I want to explain one thing, because I've actually had a few comments. This was never meant to be a how-to book. It's a why they do book. The mechanics, you can get a gazillion books on how to teach heel, how to teach stay, and they've all got techniques that work, all of them. For me, I never was as interested in how to as I was why. Because I know if I know why, I can figure out the combination to get in that dog's head and get the behavior I want. This is a why book. So, and I go into detail on the name game and a few other little tricks you can use that should help pick things up. And right now, Aries has got the paper towels, and he's probably going for the toilet paper next, which could be a catastrophe for you and me.
Absolutely.
So I think we ought to just step out right now. And he's hogging the camera too.
Aries, come here. Come up here. Yes.
Whoa.
All right.
So what do you think, Scott?
You know, it's all about the dogs. Never forget that. Every one of them.
Zoom in. Let me know when you're zoomed.
I'm zoomed.
All right, folks. Scott got it in writing. He believes it so much.
That's right.
And we will see you guys next week with something
Next week.
really fun.
Absolutely.
Our trivia question.
Oh, trivia. Oh, God. Carol Ann's been bugging me for this trivia question.
All
I
right.
keep forgetting.
Here we go.
Get your dog.
I don't know it.
You don't know it.
Aries, come here. Get over here.
Okay.
Sit down.
I think we still got some fancy, my security system bites bumper stickers.
Yep. got it.
We'll throw one of those in if you haven't already won one. If you've won one and you want to answer just to show how smart you are, you're welcome to do that, but I'm not going to send out doubles to anybody. So real simple. We all have seen our dogs go mark their territory on a tree, or maybe just out in the middle of a field. And depending on the dog, maybe every time, maybe every fourth time, after they pee, and males more than females, but after they pee, they'll strut their stuff and scratch up the turf. Why? That's it.
That's it.
Let us know next week. Write it in your comments. We'll check them every morning when I wake up.
All right.
Now,
It's all about the dogs. Keep it real.
adios.